CK52, the Saturday morning meeting. I guess we need to talk. There are things that I shouldn't even point out. It's not my right to point out. It's not my right to tell somebody what to do or how to do it. I try to give suggestions so that people will have an easier path. That's kind of my mission, but correcting somebody or telling somebody they're a failure or telling somebody they'll never amount up is something that I would never do. But there's a couple of things going on in the year 2023 that I don't really understand. People have lost the ability to communicate like we did in the past. And just like any other group of people that have gotten older, you always see the negative side of the younger people. And I'm not trying to be that way, but you used to not have a cell phone. And if your boss called you, maybe at your house, maybe you had an answering machine, a recorder, and a couple of hours later when you got home, you got the message and then you called your boss. Now it's almost like I can't even drive my car if I get a text. It doesn't matter if the text is something that's an emergency or just a friend with an emoji. It's almost like I can't wait 3 seconds to respond to that. And it's interesting because people don't make more money than they did 20 or 30 years ago based upon cost of living. I think the middle class is still the middle class, the upper class is still the upper class, the lower middle class is still the same. Doesn't matter what the pay is, it's what your money will do, and I don't think it's changed much. What has changed, though, is our dedication to the people that text us. If it's our friends, we have to automatically drop everything we're doing to text them back. If it's our boss, we have to respond within seconds. And it's an interesting thing. I walk around and people have the earbuds in, the little white earbuds. You can't hear a bird in a tree. You can't hear traffic. You can't hear somebody talking. If somebody talks to you, you have to pull it out of your ear because whatever was going on in that earbud, I again, probably didn't have music on. There was probably nothing in there. Maybe you were expecting that call that you had to answer immediately, but you have those things wedged in your ears and you can't hear what's going on. So there's a lot of things that people are asking about. The car business in general. I've got a good friend and we were talking about, what's going on with the car business now and in the future. Here's some really fantastic news. Credit card debt is higher than it's ever been before. People have credit card debt that they'll probably never be able to pay off. And that's just the fact. Credit card interest rates are now going up above 20%. 20% interest on a purchase of something that was $19, 20%. Repossessions on vehicles are at an all-time high. 3 years ago, somebody bought a car at the beginning of COVID. They paid $10,000 over extra clean book. Maybe they got a good interest rate, 1.9, 2.9 or something like that. But the payments didn't get smaller. And now people are taking loans out. And the loans, it doesn't matter what kind of price you get on the car. If the interest rate is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12%, the payment is super high. Starter vehicles are $38,000 to $42,000 on average. On a half-ton truck that has luxury equipment on there or off-road capability is up to $100,000. But there's 330 million people that live in the United States. That's the saving grace of all of this. There are a group of people that can't buy right now because they have negative equity, won't buy right now because the interest rates are high, and just aren't in a financial situation to get a newer pre-owned car at this moment. That doesn't mean the whole 330 million people don't have the ability to buy a car. There are people out there that are doing extremely well. Going to the dealership, standing outside on the asphalt, waiting on somebody to come in that has purchased a car in the last 3 years could be a great way to fail because they may not be able to trade because of the equity situation in the car. They may not be able to trade because of their debt to income, because of their credit card debt, their house note, and the 3 cars they have. So building a base, and I've said this too many times, The first hour you go at work or really shouldn't be spent talking about the game you saw last night. This is a Saturday morning meeting after the first game of the World Series this year. So I don't know, maybe everybody in America watches the World Series. But before you turn that World Series on, if you work for Toyota, if you work for Kia, if you work for Dodge or Chrysler or anybody else, why don't you go to YouTube and watch 30 minutes of education about your product and then watch the baseball game, which is not going to pay you any revenue. They're not going to send you a check for watching the game. The players don't know who you are. You worship them. You wear their jersey with their number, with their name on the back of it. They'll never know who you are. And they really don't care whether you watch or not. They care about getting paid. If they didn't care about getting paid, they wouldn't jump from team to team. So it's interesting who we idolize. I work with a group of people that work harder than anybody else. I don't want to make this too long today, but I want to talk to you about how to be able to get this thing going. Number one thing is, why are you doing the same thing everybody else is doing? If you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing, then you should be able to get the exact same response if you're an above average person. People skills are the most important thing really in life. How do you meet a spouse, a significant other, or a partner? Well, they have to at least tolerate you. They have to like you, and that's people skills. Having somebody be able to give their hard-earned money to you when you've never met them before requires people skills. How do you develop people skills? You work on your eye contact. There are so many. Watch the people around you. Please, wherever you go, watch people communicate. They don't talk to each other. They'll be having a conversation and they'll just continue to talk while they're down there texting. That is disrespectful. That's disrespectful. When you're having a conversation with somebody and you get distracted by your device or anything else, it doesn't matter what era you came from, that's disrespectful. When you're having a communication with somebody, make eye contact. Your body gestures make them bigger than life. I look at all these actors and they may shoot a scene 40 times. You don't know that. You see the finished product of the movie and you think they're the most great actors on earth. They may have messed their line up 13 times in a row. Somebody had to tell them what they're going to say, and they keep saying it, keep practicing, keep saying it, keep practicing until they get a perfect one, and then that's the one that they print and make it part of the movie. Well, we depend on selling something at the spur of the moment. I've got somebody out there looking at a brand new 4Runner. I know the 4Runner, but now I've got to communicate with this person, and they may be totally different than the last person I talked to, and I've got to figure out exactly what I need to say to that person, or I miss an opportunity, or they're disengaged, or they don't care what I'm talking about. The digital part of today's world, it doesn't matter what you do if you're digital. If I've got something to say about a 4Runner, if I'm selling carpeting, if I'm selling tile, if I'm selling a plumbing service, if I've got something to say that I really need you to hear me say it, then I should do it in the form of a digital video. And I should work with that. I should edit it until it's exactly what I want to say. The way I stand, the way I gesture, the way I look into the camera, so I'm catching their attention, needs to be perfect, or I need to shoot it again. And it doesn't matter whether it takes 2 or 3 times to shoot it. Listen, I don't know that you can make something perfect when you do it 1 or 2 times. It may take you 50 times. But you know what? Once you do it 50 times and you get it perfect, then you can send it to hundreds of people that are shopping and thinking about making a purchase, instead of waiting for them to show up and having one shot, hit or miss. And the one shot includes the higher interest rates and the higher price of vehicles and their giant amount of credit card debt. But once you give them a video of you, you're not selling a product anymore. You're not selling the product, you're selling yourself. I'll say this in close because I work, primarily with Toyota. I've got some friends on the outside that watch my videos, but Toyota spends billions of dollars to sell their brand. Every halftime highlight, every halftime show, stadiums, the Olympics, the Paralympics. billions of dollars to give that product name recognition. And it doesn't matter whether somebody's owned a Toyota or not. If you ask somebody about a Toyota, oh, those are really good cars, they last a long time. So they've never owned one, but they still say that. And what happens is when the manufacturer spends enough money to get people to say that, then they get more people to buy. You don't need to help Toyota. You don't need to help Chrysler. You don't need to help Honda. You don't need to help Kia. What your video should be doing when you send it to a customer is making them come to you, making them realize that you're the asset, that you're going to take care of their business from now on, that you're their car person. Last week we talked about it. I go back to the same doctor. I go back to the same lawyer. I go back to the same accountant every single year because they're a part of my life. Well, when you sell something that costs in excess of $30,000 to $100,000, why would anybody else go back to anybody but you again? So in order to beat back the market change, we went through 3 years of they bought whatever you had. Now the market's changed. There's a lot of product out there. All of it's expensive because of interest rates. Most people can't pay cash for a vehicle. The manufacturers will start throwing rebates out. They'll start buying down the interest rates a little bit to draw people in. But in reality, the value and the price of the cars now and going forward will be more than they have been the last 3 years. So now the customer's got to make a decision on, am I going to keep my car? Am I going to trade my car? And the decision needs to be that they decide that they're going to use you and your services and your expertise. Put together a resume. How many years you've been selling? How many tests you've taken? How many launches you've gone to? How much product training have you gone to? And then all those things make you certified. I'm certified Tundra. I'm certified SUV. I'm certified to deliver the certified program to you. I'm gold level sales society. Doesn't matter what each manufacturer does. It's the awards that you've received and the test and the education that you've had to go through in order to get to your level. I really think in closing that you need to send that to the customer so they can sit there and go, well, this person knows exactly what they're doing. Let me do business with them. I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. The first thing you should try to sell is you. If you don't think you're marketable, then you need to sit down in a dark room and work out how you're going to increase your marketability. Not of the car, of you. Why should they buy from you? I have a lot of people that have a lot of confidence. People call that cocky. They think they're the greatest people on earth. Well, tell me why. You may be the greatest person on earth. Tell me why. If you could tell me why, tell everybody that you're going to do business with so they'll know. Sell yourself, number one. If there's any time after selling yourself, and you may use the whole time selling yourself, then sell yourself. And the third and probably the most important thing to sell is sell yourself. Because when the consumer decides to do business with you, everything changes. PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. Interesting.